welcome to the show! I'm Wolfie Bane, your host for today, and we are back doing another Pokemon, very, very biased Pokemon tier list today. How dare you! Fantastic day, fantastic time, fantastic evening, and a fantastic life right now. Everybody, I'm back. I'm here, and I'm ready to talk about some video games. And this is going to be my last stream for 2024, because as of tonight, after this stream, I will be getting all the stuff started on building my new PC. The parts are all here. Everything is ready and prepped, and And basically tonight I'm going to be doing the last bits and bobs that I need a PC for before I do it. So I'll be like doing through like upload this onto this and do this to this to this to this and all that jazz. And tomorrow I will be spending pretty much the entire day building the new PC and getting it all working and getting my files back in and probably setting up my OBS again and all that jazz. So it's been a fun time using this PC, and it will be a damn good one to use. But finally let her rest up a bit and to you get my new big old behemoth up and running. So it should be a very fun time. But yes, anyway, getting into the start of the stream, we're doing my favorites. I did say that that the final tier list of the year was gonna be something quite close to my heart. My personal favorite classification in Pokemon. The Pokemon that are, on average, my favorites of all. A good chunk of these, I think all but one of these, at least their final forms, or at least their evolutionary lines, are in my top, like, I think all of them, with the exception of one, have their lines in my top 50. Most of them probably have their lines in my top 25. A good chunk of them have their lines in my top 10. So, I'm a big fan of pseudo-legendaries. One of these is, in fact, my favorite Pokemon. One of my three favorites, as it's well known. Basically, three Pokemon are tied my favorite. But if you'd have to go the Pokemon that represents me, my Mon, my ace, my Pokemon that will always be on my team, and my ever-reliable companion in battle, it is one of these. And in every game, with the exception of one generation, there will be a Pseudo on my team, right? I like my Pseudos a lot. There'll be at least one. If I at least get the choice. Yeah, I personally love Pseudos. So, I'm running a bit fast and loose with the Pseudo-legendary classification, right? The caveats I have for a Pokemon being a pseudo-legendary. Now, it gets a little tricky, right? Because of one Pokemon. Before the DLC of Gen 9, I would have gone, the pseudo-legendary classification is any 3-stage, non-legendary Pokemon that ends up with a base stat total of 600 in its final evolutionary form, right? There's a few other things, like they have relatively slow to level up, relatively weak early forms, but the big part is the 600 base stat total at the end, right? That's the important bit, and not a legendary. Those are the big two. 600 base stat total, not a legendary. Also, it has to have exactly 600, so it can't be a Mon that has over 600, like Slacking. Like, Slacking would technically fit it, right? Because it's 3 stages, massive base stat total, kind of works, right? No, Slacking doesn't, because it's got the bad ability, and it's got the bad ability which neutralizes it. Also, it's got over 600 base stat total. That's the key. It has to be exactly 600. As of the Gen 9 DLC of Blueberry Academy, which is the... I don't remember the name of the DLC, actually. It's not called Blueberry Academy. I don't remember. Oh, it's the Terrapagos DLC, you know the one. As of that one, they added a new Pokemon that's up in debate for a pseudo-legendary. I personally will count it as a technical pseudo-legendary, even though it doesn't yet have 3 stages, and it also requires an item to evolve. But to be fair, at least one pseudo in the past has required something extra. Looking at you, there is a precedent for slightly off of just leveling up for a pseudo-legendary, because Goodra in the main games Goodra basically requires rain to evolve. So I will say it doesn't necessarily need to be level up only for XP. Evolution. And I will state as well, one really important part. I am counting Archaludon as a pseudo, right? It's up for a lot of debate. Let's just get this out of the way right here. I've put it at the end because it is the technical pseudo and was added to pseudo late. It will perfectly fit pseudo-legendary if they make a baby form of Duraludon. That's my main bit. If they make a baby form of Duraludon at some point in the future, which there's precedent, if they make a cute little, I don't know what it would be, Oraludon or something, right? It will be the 3 stages. That's the key, right? Duraludon got an evolution. There's nothing to say that it wouldn't potentially, in a future game, get a pre-evo. And a pre-evo would honestly be kind of cool, right? For Duraludon, I think they could cook. I think they could make something very fun. Then Duraludon would just be the awkward middle stage, which I think is fine. And because there is that potential in the future, which would make Archaludon a perfect pseudo-legendary, I am going to go with yes. It's a pseudo. I will count it as a pseudo. I will put it at the end of the list just because it's the it's the one that doesn't fit every prior rule. But I do also believe in the Japanese version, they aren't called pseudo-legendaries, they're called powerhouse Pokemon. And I believe Archaludon is one of the powerhouse Pokemon. I'm pretty sure. In fact, I'll look that up. Okay, it might not be, because I can't find a lot of people, like, win the argument. But I believe that Powerhouse Pokemon is technically the name for pseudo-legendaries. But let's face it, I'm going to call it pseudos as well. I do love the name Powerhouse Pokemon, though, because, let's face it, look at this lineup and tell me they don't all fit. Yeah, there's currently, if you go for the main base pseudos, there are 11 by technicality, with also Archaludon being 12. And I count it because it fits most of the things. So. Also, by the way, how we will do this. As our tier lists are usual. S tier is the best of the best of the best, or in this case, the star of the show. A tier is the ace on somebody's team, let's be honest. B is best in slot, which is still very, very good. It is above average. A is basically they're not quite reaching the peak of the S tier. But they're still very, very good. B is they're really fucking good, don't get me wrong. They're just not to me. They're not like my pick for pseudos. C is average. Well, I would consider the average bar. And that's average bar in general, right? And D is the I actively don't like this. I will state this right fucking now. Nothing on this list is going in D tier. I will tell you that right now. because of one thing. Previously, if you'd asked me like a year ago, or two, like a couple of years ago, I would have put Dragonite into D tier. I'm coming around to Dragonite. I still don't like it. It's still my least favorite pseudo. But it's not awful. And I will give it that. It's got its charm. I don't personally like it, but if push comes to shove, I wouldn't be unhappy to get one in like a random rolled draft pick Pokemon, right? Dragonite's not awful. Why not, right? Also, I'm really hoping that Dragonite gets a Mega, and I hope Mega Dragonite fixes all the problems with Dragonite, I'm going to be honest. Mostly, Dragonite, the problem I've got with it is its design. So, I will say that. And hopefully, they make a Mega Dragonite like I'm predicting, and it'll be... I don't really know what to change it to, but I want that to happen, right? I want it changing in some way, because I don't personally like it. And it's definitely just a me personally thing. It is not a bad mon at all. It's great. It's not good. It's good at the moment with Terra. With Terra, Dragonite is really good. Without Terra, Dragonite's kind of shit. But that's by pseudo standards, and every pseudo at least is usable. That's generally the thing. Every single Pokemon on this list is at hard minimum usable. In fact, every Pokemon on this list, with the exception of exactly Dragonite, not even the Dragonite line. I've used Dragonair. I've used Eviolite Dragonair before. It's very fun mod, actually, Eviolite Dragonair. I like Dragonair. But every single mod on this list, with the exception of Dragonite, I have used at least a little bit. But everything's good. Everything on here is good. It's usable. You can have a lot of fun with it. And it's just cool, right? So, first up, we have got the original dragon. The OG dragon, as much as I'm sad to say it's the OG dragon, because Gyarados and Charizard should both be dragon types. I even had a few other people who didn't know that Gyarados was a flying type agreeing with me, which was very funny to have new people say, why is it not a dragon? Why is the dragon? It should be dragon type. It's a fucking fish. Why does it fly? And Charizard looks like a fire-breathing dragon. Why is it? Why is Dratini the first dragon? But I will say, Dratini is very, very cute. I don't think there's anybody that dislikes Dratini. Right? I don't think I could name a single person that actively dislikes Dratini. Or Dragonair. There's plenty of people that don't like Dragonite. But Dratini is very cute. And very cool. Right? So, Dratini, you are a solid little goober. You're adorable. And honestly, you deserve a tick. You're a good design. Very simple, but let's face it, it's an OG Gen 1, right? The designs don't have to be crazy to be a good design. And Dratini is a nice, clean, sleek design. And it's very cute. Look at it. So yeah, Dratini, easy A tier, very comfy. Dragonair. Dragonair is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. You can actually, I've actually had a thought, for a few times. I think Dragonair is the inspiration for Milotic, right? I think they wanted to make... Basically, they heard that people were going like, oh, I wish Dragonair was like... I wish Dragonite was more like Dragonair, right? That's always been the classic. And why a lot of people dislike Dragonite is because Dragonair is a sleek and gorgeous mon. Honestly, one of the best looking mons in Gen 1. Right? Just outright, it is. I know so many people who go, I wish Dragonite had the stats. I wish Dragonite had the stats of Dragonite. That's what a lot of people will say. And... Sorry. Getting quite thirsty. I'm a little bit ill, so... But yeah. Dragonair, absolutely gorgeous mon. I have the thought that... Basically, they went, we want to give the fans what they want, right, in Gen 3. So, they basically made what could be a full evolution form based on Dragonair, right? That's what I always think Milotic is. I think they went, people love Dragonair, but people like Dragonite, but not as much. So, why don't we make a fully evolved form of a mon that it's got the same kind of vibe as Dragonair. So they made Milotic, and people love Milotic. So I think that's a really cool one, and that's my little, like, thought in my mind, right? And Milotic is an absolutely beautiful Pokemon. And yeah, it generally looks like it could be the evolution of Dragonair as well. I'm really hoping for a Mega Milotic as well, by the way. That's another mod I really, really want. Either Water Dragon or Water Fairy, I'd be happy with either. I think it would just be a really cool mon. Power it up a bit. I don't know what to give it ability-wise. Honestly, just keep competitive on it or something, right? It's a cool mod. I really like I really like Milotic, and I really would love it to get a Mega. Or they could make it Water Fire, and that could be kind of cool. Like it have the... Because it still gets Scald, like it is... It's a draconic Pokemon. It's not exactly a dragon, but it's draconic in the same kind of way that Gyarados is. So... Because, I mean, Milotic is basically the alternate Gyarados, right? So... But yeah, Dragonair, great mon. Also, easy A, right? Easy, comfortable A tier. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's not that powerful, but not everything on this list is going to be rated on power because it's the pseudo-legendaries. They're all good, right? Everything on this list is at least usable. And we're rating all the baby forms as well, which, for reference, we are rating the baby forms as the baby forms. And that, because obviously it's like, oh, Dreepy, it's one of the weakest dragons. What? How can you consider this mod really, really cool? Or really, really good? It is very weak, yes. And it's not even amazing for this time in the game. It's a super, super delayed good pick, as pseudos are, basically. Every pseudo is weak early and strong late. That's their point. They are basically supposed to be, in the lore, they are the benchmark of a truly great trainer. Now, they're not on every trainer's team, but I will say, every single thing on this list, if you put it on your team, you're not going to be upset. It's good. Everything here is good, it's usable, and it's never a bad choice. If you've ever got, oh, what do I need for my team? A pseudo is something that should be on your radar to pick up. Like, do you have a pseudo-legendary? Any of them. They're all good. They're not necessarily the best competitive Pokemon in the world, but each one has its strengths and is good at what it does. And they're all decent. In most cases, the reason why some of them do lose out in competitive is because to make them truly terrifying, they need something. Like, they need some setup or something. In some way. Not a ton of setup. Like, take Tyranitar. Tyranitar, good mon, just outright, very solid, very big, tough, tanky. Sets up Sandstorm, can really complement your team. Like, can be the anchor point in your team, say, if you're doing a Sandstorm team. But Tyranitar, after a Dragon Dance, now we're cooking. That's a really solid mon. It's got a lot of weaknesses. That's the downside of Tyranitar. Everything on this list also has a weakness. I think nearly everything here... Okay, no. A lot of the pseudo-legendaries have quad weaknesses. That is another big point of them. Because they are the classic example of a mon that's really, really strong, so they gave it an Achilles heel. In most cases, honestly, it's Ice. Ice will fuck up the vast majority of pseudos better than anything else. Fairy fucks up a good few as well. Like, there's a lot of dragons. Okay. Anyway. Speaking of pseudo-legendaries fucked up by Ice, Dragonite. We are getting finally to Dragonite. Okay, so people are well aware of my not a huge fan of Dragonite. It's the only... Gen 1 is the only gen that my final teams don't have a pseudo-legendary on, right? It's the only gen. Every single other gen of Pokemon has me have a pseudo on the end of my team by, like, for my final team, right? Because pseudos are absolutely amazing, and they're my favorites. But Dragonite, I never gelled with Dragonite from a kid. I didn't like it. It always reminded me of Barney the Dinosaur, who I'm a huge fan of dinosaurs in general, and I always thought that Barney the Dinosaur was kind of just a weird, creepy, like, imitation. I didn't like it because it didn't look dinosaur enough. It looked silly. I've never been a goofy kind of guy, right? Or it has to be like a certain kind of goofy. Like, not quite goofy enough. We'll get to goofy later with the other really goofy pseudo-legendary. Looking at you, Goodra. But I like Goodra. And here's the bit. Dragonite always kind of looked like an inflated Christmas decoration dragon. And it was really powerful back in the day. In terms of what it just hit really hard. Like, it's a Dragonite. It hits really hard. The dragon type is good. But it just didn't click for me. I always thought... I also loved Dragonair as a kid. I thought Dragonair was really cool. One of the big sea serpent. Would have loved it if they'd gone more Eastern Dragon with it. I think that would have been sick. And then you get Dragonite, which is fat and tubby. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it's... I didn't really like it in the anime. It goes supersonic speeds for some reason. Because E-Speed, where they should give E-Speed to other mons, let's be honest here. Nowadays, they definitely should. Garchomp and Salamence at least should get E-Speed. I can definitely see... I think Garchomp, Salamence, and Dragapult should get E-Speed. I can definitely see a case not to give it to Dragapult, because... like, its lore doesn't really indicate that it could. It just is super fast. So I could see an argument of go, no, you don't need it on Dragapult. And I go, fair. But Garchomp is literally the mock Pokemon, and it doesn't get extreme speed, which is dumb. And Salamence is literally the jet plane dragon, and it also doesn't get E-Speed. Though, to be fair, in Salamance's case, it might be a bit too powerful, because with Salamence, not because of Salamence, for reference, regular Salamence isn't the problem when you get add E-Speed to Salamence. The problem when you add E-Speed to Salamence is Mega Salamence, because suddenly that's a 80 power stab flying physical double priority move. That might be a little too good. I will definitely give him that. On Salamence, it might be a little too powerful because of Mega Salamence. They should really give it to Garchomp, though. It literally uses it in the show. Right? The anime gives Garchomp extreme speed. So Garchomp really, really should just get extreme speed, guys. I'm gonna be honest. Game Freak, please give the Pokemon that is literally the supersonic running Pokemon extreme speed. It really should get it. I've actually made that as a statement forever. Garchomp, there's two moves that I think would pretty much round out Garchomp as the moveset is just sorted. And it's Flare Blitz and Extreme Speed. Personally. That's genuinely my thought. A better dragon stab move, a better physical dragon move would be good as well. But that doesn't currently exist. So, I'm not really going to argue with that. I think they should just add some more good dragon moves, right? I think they need to add a dragon version of Play Rough, personally. I think that kind of works well. I just call it Rampage. Or something. But yes. So Dragonite, yes, as I said. I'm not a huge Dragonite fan, personally. I have started to come around to it in the last few years, though. It's not bad. It's not great. Still my least favorite pseudo. I will say this with my chest. Dragonite is my least favorite pseudo-legendary. That's probably never changing. If they make a Mega Dragonite, then Mega Dragonite might go up in my estimations. But regular Dragonite is never going up in my estimations. I also am convinced Mega Dragonite is going to be a thing. We've seen it in the trailer for Legend ZA, for the teaser. We know Megas are coming back. And it just makes sense to me. Because I genuinely think that nearly everything that's in the trailer is going to get a Mega. We see Arbok in the trailer, which is a mon that I think should get a Mega. And I think would be really cool with a Mega. Dragonite's in the trailer. I think everything else we see in the trailer pretty much has a Mega already. Or would be a mon that say, that'd be interesting with a Mega. So, yeah. That's what I think. And I do think we could get a Mega Dragonite, and I'm calling it here. This is my prediction. When Legends EA comes out, come back and watch this video, because this video is going up on my YouTube in the new year. It will be going up on my YouTube in 1 week. As of today is the 30th of December, so a couple of days before, the day before New Year. This will be going up on the 6th of January? Yeah, the 6th of January. So, yeah. That's the day it will go. That's the day it will be coming out. And do watch. If I am right with this prediction, you've got to comment. You gotta comment something, right? It's just the law. You gotta subscribe to the YouTube channel. Honestly, there's a shitload of videos there. Just watch it. It's free. It costs you nothing. Just do it. Subscribe, like every video. Just watch it all. It's all fun. Don't look at some of the really, really old stuff, though. I look really young. I have hair and no beard. I look weird. But yes, I am predicting that they will make a Mega Dragonite, and I'm predicting it will be Dragon Normal. That's my prediction right there. I think they will make a Mega Dragonite, Dragon Normal type. Don't have the faintest idea what its ability would be. Maybe still multi-scale. I have no idea. Maybe they make a brand new ability for it. I genuinely don't know. But I am predicting Mega Dragonite in the future. Hell, maybe it gets normalized. Who knows? But yeah, that is my prediction. As for Dragonite himself, I'm sorry, bud. You're alright, but you're not getting better than C tier for me. You're the only one of the Pokemon on this entire list I have never actively used. So maybe I'll use you at some point in the future. Though unlikely, because the Monotype runs, I didn't get you in Gen 1, I didn't get Dragon in Gen 1 or 2. So I'm probably not using a Dragonite, at least for the foreseeable future. I'm gonna be honest here. Yeah. Anyway. Larvitar. I like Larvitar. Larvitar's a weird one. Weirdly, it gets guts of all things. It's one of those... Larvitar, Pupitar, Tyranitar is one of those really bizarre setups where nothing shares an ability in this entire line. Regular Larvitar gets guts, and I don't know its other ability. It might get Unnerve. They might all get Unnerve. I'm not sure on that one. Well. Hello. But yeah, Larvitar gets guts of all things. I want to, at some point, go into Baby Cup. Because it's one of those ones, it's like, some people consider it with pseudos. I'm putting it as a technical pseudo. Because if they add in a Baby Duraludon in the future, which I kind of think they will, then it will actually meet every qualification for being a Pseudo-legendary. That's my reasoning. So I'm basically future-proofing. It meets every qualification except it's not 3-stage. That's literally it. So that being the only bit that X's out, and it's the only Pokemon that meets every qualification with except that one. Exactly, right? It's semi-pseudo-legendary. Which is why I put it at the end and not in its Pokedex entry, because if it was in Pokedex entry, I put Duraludon in Gen 8, which it's not. So that's why it's on here by technicality, so it's on there at the end. But it's getting there. Make a baby Duraludon. Honestly, I think a baby Duraludon would be really cute as well. Do that, Game Freak. I love Bax. I do love Bax. We'll get to Bax. But yes. Larvitar. I like Larvitar. I want to go into Baby Cup at some point with a Guts Larvitar and just see what happens. It's definitely not good, but it just seems fun, right? Flame Orb Guts Larvitar. Oh, why fuck not, right? It would be very silly. But it could be fun, right? I like it. I like the angry little thing. The babies, then middle Evos, then final Evos, pretty please. I'm doing it in Pokedex order for this one. But I am rating all of them. Hoogulus and Thorns are not pseudos. They are imitation pseudos. Same with Roaring Moon. Although Roaring Moon's sick, don't get me wrong. These are the actual pseudos. Those ones don't technically count as pseudos. That is the thing. They are unique forms. They are alternate Pokemon. I did Paradox Mullins last week. I'm not gonna lie. Nah. There's also the part, if I had Hoogulus, Thorns, and Moon on here, something would be in D tier. I don't like Iron Jugulas at all. I like Iron Thorns and Roaring Moon, though. Those two are great. I just don't like Iron Jugulas. Anyway, as I was going for Larvitar. Larvitar, you're great. Very cute little guy. But nothing crazy, right? It's not got Dratini's cuteness. What, play the game? I have it. Yeah, Larvitar, it doesn't have the adorable nature that Dratini does. That's the main bit for it. It doesn't have the, this is adorable beyond imagining. So it's not getting A tier. It's above a C tier, though, because I do like it. Get every final stage evolution of every pseudo. God, I'd have to go into the multiplayer for that, because Salamence isn't, Salamence is Violet exclusive. As is Dragapult, I think, actually. Which I don't have Violet, I only have Scarlet. You also can't catch Yasui and Gudra, I don't believe. I think you need to get that from a different game. I'm pretty sure. Also, God, I don't want to have to... Is there even a wild Metagross around? There might be a wild Metagross. I don't know if there's a wild Metagross in Scarlet. I'd have to check. If I had more time for the streams and things, I might be tempted to shiny hunt a Metagross, though. No, I think there is a Metagross in Scarlet, right? I'm surprised that Goomy didn't. I think Hisui and Goomy would have been really cute as well, like a little honestly, Hisui and Goomy, idea, little construction hat, little metal construction hat, boom, done, sorted. I've solved Pokemon. But yeah, Larvitar, you get it. Pupitar, I do like Pupitar. I don't know why I like Pupitar. It's not great, right? It's a little cocoon vibe. I like the Cocoon Boys, I'm gonna be honest. I had the Pokemon card for this as a kid. And obviously, Tyranitar being the first pseudo I really, really liked does help. Hey, Svigan, thank you for the 5 months, buddy. It's greatly appreciated. Oh, Godzilla, Ice Godzilla. It has been a while. No. Baxcalibur isn't Ice Godzilla. Baxcalibur is Ice Gigan from Godzilla. And if you look up Gigan from Godzilla, you'll see exactly what I mean. I like my kaijus. I used to have all the Godzilla fighting games as a kid. Gigan's great. Okay, yeah. Fair happens, doesn't it? That does indeed happen. Hey, congrats on the new job. I remember you saying you were getting the new job. Hey, hopefully, it's also Christmas time, right? Everyone's schedule's fucked around Christmas. At least it pays well. Yeah, Pupitar, you're also getting B. I do like you. Way more than I should. I also love... Okay, here's a bit weird one. I have won a lot of, like, random, like, battles with friends where we've gone, like, just pick some random-ass Pokemon off the list. Or, like, we random roll what Pokemon we get, right? I've done some of those. And we have to use that form, not the evolved ones. Dragons were my first ever tier list. There is a VOD in... There's a VOD on my YouTube channel. It's ages ago. We're doing pseudos, which are important. Oh, yeah. And Pupitar weirdly won me a lot of those for one reason. Pupitar gets shed skin. And the amount of times one of my opponents would, like, body slam paralysis or will-o-wisp burn and shit, and I would just go, shed skin. Shed skins it off. I'm immune. I don't care. Fuck you guys. Earthquake. Would happen quite a lot. Absolutely, yeah, most of the pseudos are dragons. But remember, Metagross is on here, Tyranitar is on here. Tyranitar, not a dragon. Despite its looks. But yeah, so I have a bit of a soft spot for Pupitar. Genuinely. Now, Tyranitar! One of my two favourite rock types. Arguably my favourite. It's really close between Tyranitar and Tyrantrum, okay? I love my two giant kaiju monsters. And Tyranitar, obviously, it's the Godzilla Pokemon. I've loved it since I first saw it. It's always, to me, been the iconic, powerful Pokemon, right? When you say pseudo-legendaries, if you said this to me as a small child... Ground Dog would have been a better type. Ground Rock is a terrible typing. It's because Tyranitar's the armor Pokemon, because it's got, like, concrete armor, basically. That, I believe, is the reason why it's rock type. Which it kind of makes sense, right? I also agree I would have loved it to have been a ground type. But it does kind of fit it. Also, it does get the special defense bonus from its Sandstorm because it's rock type, specifically. Ground types actually don't get that. Only rock types get that. So it does actually complement itself quite well. Like, it's kind of iconic that it is. It's the only rock dark type in existence. So, I can see it, right? Not bullet punches. Power punches will down it, yeah. But T-Tar, if you build T-Tar right, it's thick as sin. And you really have to hit it with fighting. It will eat a lot of hits. From steel moves. As I proved in my draft league, my original foray into competitive Pokemon with a bunch of friends. I second picked Tyranitar for my team. I started with Gooba, my Garchomp, my ace. And then on the go back, I got Tyranitar. I got my Tyranitar. And honestly, that T-Tar did so much work. T-Tar is an absolutely terrifying Pokemon. Its type holds it back so much, and it's the point of, imagine how powerful Tyranitar would be without the one of the worst types in Pokemon. But here's also the bit. Dark Rock, in terms of weaknesses, yes, it's really bad. Also, I'm looking forward to using Tyranitar, because we finally did the monotype drafts for what type we're getting for the next, for the Johto region. On Pokemon monotype runs with me and my friend group, the Lost Cause. And in that, I drafted Dark type in Johto, meaning that I will get a Tyranitar eventually. It'll be a fucking long time till I get a Tyranitar, but that will be starting up in the new year at some point in January, so when I have my new PC set up and things. There'll be a couple streams probably in it. I'm not going to be just doing it just on stream, because it's technically a race. But I will definitely do a few streams in it anyway, just because it's what we'll be playing. And it's a fun time. I've been itching to play another Pokemon game. Pokemon Go is damn good. But yeah, Tyranitar can tank a lot of normal super effective moves. I will specify. So, steel type moves, it'll eat. Not great, but it will actually take a good few hits. Like, a few bullet punches from a sword stanced Scizor will do it. Will crack it. But Tyranitar's got an absolutely astronomical amount of bulk. even with its really, really vulnerable typings, if you're not hitting it with fighting, you're probably not one-shotting it. And that's a big point about Tyranitar. Particularly if you build like mine. So my Tyranitar build, I've talked about this before. People actually apparently compliment my Tyranitar build because it's based on what I found online, but it's not entirely what I found online. It was intended for Gen 9. What it is it's for doubles, this, by the way. It was for doubles at the time. I will change one move out because now it literally the month after we did the draft, like halfway through the draft league, they gave Tyranitar an updated moveset, and it now learns knockoff. It didn't learn knockoff at the time. So, the moveset I went with was Crunch for Dark-type stab, Rock Slide for Rock Stab, and just a good move, Protect, and that's the big one, and, yes, you have Protect, and you have Terra Blast, right? You max out health and attack with Adamant Nature. Put those last 4 points wherever you like. I like putting the 4 points into speed. Fake Out is not a Dark-type move. Fake Out's normal type. Knockoff is a Dark-type move, though. Yeah, Fake Out's normal. Fake Out, pure normal. Doesn't work on ghosts. Unless you are a Mega Lopunny. Which I think is the only mon with Scrappy that gets Fake Out. I'm not 100% on that, but... but yeah. Tyranitar, I max out the health, and you go Terra Flying, because Flying is a really good Terra for Tyranitar, because the way that you go into, a lot of Dark types use it. Freaking Incineroar gets it, Grimmsnarl gets it, I think, actually no, I don't think Sableye can get it, but it might. There's just a lot of Dark types get Fake Out. That is entirely true. A lot of normal types get it as well, though, so kind of works. But yeah, regularly, what you'll throw into Tyranitar is high power ground moves just in general, because Tyranitar, as I said, is only regularly vulnerable to ground, but ground moves just hit hard, and ground types tend to have just high attack. So, Earthquake will do a lot of work on a T-Tar just outright. But the big reason to take Terra Flying is how you'd bring down a Tyranitar is something faster than Tyranitar with a high attack stat and close combat. Throw that fighting type move in there because it is quad weak to fighting. Stone Edge has more power and crit chance, lower accuracy as well. The reason why this is a Rock Slide and not Stone Edge is because it's a double set. Rock Slide is a doubles move rather than a singles move. Stone Edge, if you're doing singles, take Stone Edge. If you're doing doubles, take Rock Slide. Because Rock Slide is an AoE move, like Earthquake, so it hits both your opponent's Pokemon. So it's just nice for that, really. And Tyranitar's not super fast, so you're not likely to get the flinch chance. But having 95 accuracy over 80 really makes a difference. Also, you've got the attack stat of an Adamant Tyranitar, right? Tyranitar hits like a truck. I think it... Does it have... I don't remember what Tyranitar's attack stat is. It's a lot. It's one of the highest attack stat pseudos. It's one of the big uns. Yeah. Tyranitar has 134 physical attack. Right? Also, Tyranitar has one of the greatest movesets of all time in what it can get. It learns all the punches. It learns Dragon Dance. It gets Earthquake. It gets all the good rock moves you'd expect. It gets great dark coverage. It gets amazing special coverage for some bizarre fucking reason. It gets an amazing set of moves that it can learn. So you can really, really build Tyranitar very versatile. And that's the bit. It's got a lot of builds. The big part, though, is what you're going to use Tyranitar for is Sandstream. It's the Sandstorm mon, right? That's why I named mine Darude. It's my personal pick. I do like Hippowdon. I do like Gigalith. But I'll always pick Tyranitar as my main one. If I'm doing a Sandstorm team, you bet your ass Tyranitar's on that team. I love them on. It's an absolute powerhouse. It's never bad, really. The other good Terra, by the way, I like running Terra Flying with Terra Blast because also the Terra Blast flying is super effective into the fighting type. Also, because of how Terra Blast works, once you Terra, it becomes whatever is better out of your physical and special. Meaning that non-Terra Tyranitar, it's a pretty shitty, normal type special move. It's not gonna do shit. With Terra Tyranitar, you're hitting with that massive physical attack stat. And you're gonna do work. So yeah. Absolutely love T-Tar. Easy S tier. And it's in my top 10, probably. Fairly sure Tyranitar is in my top 10 best favorite Pokemon of all time. It's not quite in the top 5. But it's in the top 10. And I do love it. It's an easy S tier for me. Okay. Bagon! Oh, Bagon. I love Bagon. I do love Bagon a lot. Cute little thing. Yeah, I love Bagon. I have for ages. It's well-known fact. I like it. I like the little dinosaur-y look. I also love that it gets Rockhead. I don't know if it gets any good moves for it, but you can probably cook. I'm pretty sure it gets Double Edge. But yeah, Bagon's very cool little goober. I do like it. Probably an A-tier mon for me, I think. There's not really a lot to talk about. It's just a tiny armored T-Rex. I'd say it's above Dratini, but not above Dragonair. Right? It's not quite as cute as Dratini, but it's got kind of cool factor, and I like the dinosaur look. So, yeah. Shelgon. I also like Shelgon. So, if anyone doesn't know, does anybody remember those little ball presents you used to be able to get from, like, toy shops? This is going back, and this is definitely showing my age. They were like flat balls. You basically, like, hit them in a certain way, and they turn into a frisbee. You threw the frisbee, and then the suction cup on the inside basically released it, turned into a ball, right? I don't remember the fucking name, but those things. That's always what Shelgon reminded me of, and I can never not see it. I really like it. Not a bad mon. People give Shelgon a really bad rap. It's the football. It's cute, and it's kind of cool in the right kind of way, and its lore is really cool because basically I believe its lore is it basically doesn't eat until it gets enough energy, and then it evolves into Salamence, right? So it is actually a cocoon that can walk. It's a cocoon with feet, basically. But I kind of like it. I've always thought it's a good middle stage. Like, look at it, and you go, that's going to evolve into something cool. It's like an egg, right? So I've always really liked it. And not as much as Dragonair. I'll outright say it. Not as much as Dragonair. But I do like Shelgon. I've used Shelgon so much as well. Shelgon, because basically, if I am in Gen 3, I will have a Salamence on the team. But it obviously evolves quite late because it's a Salamence. So, I'll always have a Shelgon in, like, after I get... Because basically, I'll always get access to a Salamence as soon as possible. It takes a while to evolve the Shelgon into the Salamence, so you've got a Shelgon for a long-ass time. Which I don't think is bad, because it can do work. It's a tanky little bugger. With okay moves. Nothing crazy, but it's not bad. It's bad compared to its final Evo, but every Pseudo is bad compared to its final Evo. That's the point of Pseudo. They are the potential Pokemon. They are going to be some of the strongest Pokemon ever, so they've got to have fairly humble beginnings. So you have to actively work to make them to be that level of insane power that you know you're going to get in the future, right? And I personally am a big fan of putting in effort to get a good reward. I've always been a fan of that in games. Like, you're going to get more power later by putting in the effort early. And it's not exactly like... They're not crazy hard to catch, most Pseudos. They're tricky. They're more difficult than most Pokemon. But with the exception of the Metagross line, they're not that bad catch rate-wise. Like, sure, you got to put in some work, right? But the work that you're putting in to get them to be Pseudos isn't they're a pain in the ass to catch or find. They're tricky to find. They're always going to be kind of rare. And you have to kind of know where you're looking. But you have to know where to find them. And then it's just find one. There will be there. And yeah, I have a soft spot for putting in work like that. But now, Salamence, my original pseudo-legendary Pokemon, because if anyone doesn't know, I played Fire Red as my first Pokemon game, and then I played Emerald as my second, so I didn't actually go to Johto first. I played Johto later in life. And you know, I played Johto before, so I did get a Tyranitar. Fairly, like, conveniently, but it wasn't a, I played Emerald before I played a Johto game, right? It was before I played Gen 4, so I played through Johto before I played through Gen 4, and through Pokemon Mode. I think I might have played it in Pokemon Mode, to be fair. But it was a long-ass time ago. It's like as a teenager or something. Because I think Kanto and Johto were the only games that were, like, out in MMO back in the day. And then there was, like, Unova, Kanto, and Johto. I think that was it. Platinum and Hoenn hadn't been introduced yet, I think. Or something like that. I know I hadn't played them. Because I played, obviously, Sinnoh and the others in MMO much later. Like, past couple of years. So, yeah. But yeah, Salamence was my original pseudo-legendary. I love it. It was my second favourite Pokemon for a very long time. It's technically still in there because it is the Pokemon just after my three favourites. So it's technically fourth place on my favourites list, but it's the one that's not first place. It's technically second because my favourite three are tied first, with Charizard, Garchomp, and Rayquaza tied for first place. Salamence is my next choice. It was my favourite pseudo until I played Sinnoh. But, you know, it was until I did competitive Pokemon. Because I liked the idea of Garchomp, but I never used it. Or never, and then Garchomp, Goober became my whole thing for me, right? And so, yeah, I do love Salamence. I've used Salamence so fucking much. It's so versatile. You can use this in any team, in any way, and it's a good choice. So, Salamence, for reference, you can, because its stats is very offensive. It's like the more offensive version of Dragonite. It's got better abilities than Dragonite. It's got a, in most cases, better moveset, probably. Actually, no, Dragonite now has gotten a massive bunch of updates, which has probably improved its moveset over Salamence. But Salamence has significantly better stats. It's faster, it hits harder. It's got better special attacks. You can actually make it special very easily. Obviously, it gets Intimidate, gets Moxie, if you want to run it that way. The Mega's amazing. Mega Salamence is an absolute beast. Obviously. So yeah, Salamence is great. Also, I will say this outright. Salamance's design is millions of times better than Dragonite's. I always loved Salamance's design. I love the red and the electric blue. It looks beautiful as a mon. It's also got a much, like, solid design. Like, it is the more dragon. It's probably the most dragon Pokemon. Right? That's really saying something, but it's the most, this is a dragon. There's nothing else about it. It is a dragon. And sometimes just be honest like that. It works. So Salamence, you are top of S tier currently. I absolutely fucking love Salamence. The only thing that lets Salamence down is it's shiny. Not a great shiny. Not a terrible shiny. I just like the blue better than the green, really. Also, that it's not in Pokemon Scarlet. I will also say Roaring Moon is also fucking amazing. I don't really have a... I basically count Roaring Moon in roughly the same spot as Salamence, for me personally. It's around that kind of section. It's probably a bit lower. It might just be out of my top 10, but I do really fucking love Roaring Moon. And it's obviously it's based on Salamence, which is a lot of its appeal for me, is that it is based on Salamence. Because Salamence, to me, is an absolutely amazing design. And so Roaring Moon has the baseline of an amazing design. So, yeah. Excuse me. Now we're talking about the other non-dragon pseudo. So we're talking about the Metagross line. So starting off with Beldum. I actually did get a Metagross in my Emerald playthrough back in the day. I don't remember when I got it. I might have got it before post-game. Genuinely. I can never remember catching the Metagross, but I know I used a Metagross. Hoenn is the region for me that I use the double pseudos. I love both of them. Metagross is one of my favorite steel types, which is a very, very hotly contested spot. Because obviously steel type is one of my favorite types in Pokemon. It is my third favorite type, in fact, after dragon and fire, which is a very respectable slot. I will always have a steel type on the team, right? Every single time. You can bet I will have at least one steel type on my team. The only region I'm pretty sure I don't have a steel type on my default team is Kanto. Because there aren't any except Magnemite, which, Magnemite's alright, don't get me wrong, but I've never been the biggest Magnemite guy. And I do have a Steelix or a Scizor in other runs, but in base Kanto, you can't really get a steel type. Without, like, some switch stuff from games shenanigans. So what I basically always have is I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah. Metagross is another super, super versatile Pokemon. I'm always happy to run it. Used to be absolutely broken in the older games, because back in the day before Gen 6, Steel actually resisted Ghost and Dark as well, which meant that Metagross had, I think, 2 weaknesses, which were Fire and Ground, I believe, because it resisted all the Psychic weaknesses with Steel. Then they changed it, so it's got much more weaknesses, but by them opening up the more weaknesses, they gave Metagross better offense. Obviously, Metagross is in the weight class of Pokemons that I do very much like because of heavyweight Pokemon with priority. Like, really high damage Pokemon, which are very, very tanky and slow, but they've got priority. I do love those. I'm famous to love those. Now, I will say, Beldum. Beldum itself sucks. I love the design. I genuinely love the design. It's a cool little weird thing. The little floating leg. I like it. It's got a slick design, and you know this is going to turn into something cool. Right? It looks like the tank version of Unknown. I always kind of thought. Or Rocket Boost, or part of like a Megazord. Which I guess it technically is part of Megazord, right? So I really, really like Beldum. It's got a good design. I wouldn't call it one of the best. It's not up here with Salamence and Dragonites pre-Evos. It's not there. But I will say it's probably very worthy in the company with, like, Larvitar, Pupitar in B tier. I think it's solid. Also, once again, beautiful shiny. Metagross has one of the best shinies in Pokemon. Not my personal favorite. Though it might be the best pseudo shiny. Yes, I'd say Metagross comfortably has the best Psudo-legendary shiny. Dragon Balt's up there as well, don't get me wrong. Dragon Balt's got a good shiny as well, but I don't know, Metagross is a sick. Dragon Ball is a good shiny Pokemon. Metagross is one of the best shiny Pokemon. So, yeah. Metang, another one like Shelgon that I genuinely love. I have used this mon quite a lot. It's way better in battle as well than Beldum. So Beldum, for anyone who doesn't know, I believe only gets, like, takedown by default. It does not get good moves. You can potentially, like, egg move and tutor stuff onto it in the older games. But Beldum just famously just does not have a good moveset. Metang actually has a moveset. It gets some good moves. It's nothing crazy, but you can make it work. And it's a decent little Pokemon in its own right. Good design. Kind of always reminded me of, it looks like it comes from the same series of robots that you'd get in, like, that you'd buy from the same shop as, like, the Teletubbies, like, made as a kid, is what I always thought. weird, goofy little thing. Kind of reminds me of Bionicles as well. So, I like Metang, and Metang, I think, I like it less than these four, but significantly more than these, so I'm going to put it in A tier, just behind Dratini, and I think that's a very, very solid spot to put him, right? I think it's just very, very good. Now then, big ol' Metagross himself, the absolute fucking unit of a mon that he is. I love using Metagross. I genuinely do. He's such a sick mon to use. Giant stomping powerhouse, massive durability, massive attack. Kind of works in the same kind of way as Tyranitar in a lot of aspects. He's just big, hits hard, and is tanky as fuck, which is great, right? Also, he has Clear Body, which, if people don't know, Clear Body is actually one of my favorite abilities in the game. Massively underrated ability. I've regularly used, like, Leftovers Metagross, Weakness Policy Metagross. It's actually one of my favorite Weakness Policy mons. Metagross himself, honestly. Particularly in doubles. I think I run... Do I run Leftovers? I can't remember. I think I run Leftovers if I'm playing Metagross in singles. And Weakness Policy if I run him in doubles. But I can also... I think I have also used Metagross... with Weakness Policy in singles, he is one of the best mons for it. Mostly because he gets good setup on his own, right? He gets priority, and he's so fucking thick that he's going to eat hits. I've also, by the way, run Assault Vest Metagross. Assault Vest Metagross is a very fun set as well. Metagross, how I pretty much build him. I always give him Bullet Punch, that's a big one. Nowadays, give him Psychic Fangs, because Psychic Fangs is sick. I'll usually give him Earthquake, and quite often give him Meteor Mash as well. Meteor Mash is on the set if I'm running, like, Assault Vest, because it's nice to have some powerful steel move. But Bullet Punch is just kind of too good to pass up on a lot of the time. Sometimes I'll have knockoff on him as well. Like, I do run a fairly varied set with Metagross. He's just great. Also, if you want a bit of fun, run in doubles. You want to have a bit of a fun time in doubles. Run Metagross with Arcanine. Run it with Weakness Policy. Run the Metagross with Weakness Policy. Run the Arcanine Tanky with Intimidate. With Bulldoze. So the Bulldoze goes off. It slows all your opponent's Pokemon. Your Metagross doesn't get slowed because of Clear Body. The Weakness Policy gets triggered because it got hit by a Ground-type move. And in that particular case, I run Agility. So you get a +2/+2/+2 Metagross. Which has barely taken any damage because Bulldoze, it doesn't hit that hard from an Arcanine. Arcanine's got good attack baseline, but you don't run it invested in attack. With this one, you build it tanky. So, max health, max physical or special defense, whichever one you particularly fancy. I run mine Assault Vested. I think I run mine with Flare, Blitz, Bulldoze, E-Speed, and I don't remember my last move, maybe in Close Combat or something, but it's some other move as well. And yeah, it's a very fun little combo. So I can definitely recommend that as a nice, enjoyable time. But anyway, Metagross, you know you're going in S tier. You're amazing. You might be noticing a pattern here, by the way, that the final Evos for a lot of the pseudos will be S tier. Yes, they will. Not all of them, but most of them. Most of them are. So far, we only have Dragonite that's not. Now then. My pseudo-legendary of choice. Let's not beat around the bush here. I am famous for my absolute adoration of Garchomp's line in general. Gibble is my favorite base stage pseudo-legendary as well. I have actually used Gibble quite a lot, of all things. Gibble's not a bad Pokemon. In the Gym Leader League that me and a bunch of friends did, which kind of did fall off, but we did do it. Gibble was actually, obviously, Gooba being my ace Pokemon, meant that Gibble was my ace Pokemon. Gibble actually got me through the fairy type Gym leader. Or was it fairy? Yeah, it was. I think it was fairy. It was fairy or ice. I don't remember which one. But my first opponent, that wasn't me testing to see if if one of the players had done the "we're not having fun" set, which I expected them to have. They did. So I bit the bullet and just went, yep, they have done the thing. Don't fight them until later. To everyone. I just let everybody know that. And everyone went, thank you for biting the bullet. So I think that trader didn't get any, like, challenges for a fair while because he did something absolutely degenerate. Also technically cheated. We didn't really specify it, but it kind of felt cheaty. But not in, like, a particularly bad way. It was just, oh yeah, this kind of, I guess, we should have accounted for this. And if we ever do that Gym Leader League again, I think we'll account for it. So yeah. With, that particular league. Ooh, have fun at Poker Night. Hope you win. Yes, anyway. Gibble, I love it. The vibes of Gibble are absolutely outstanding. Right? It's a tiny little shark. It's got the vibes. And I do love it. It's got good design as well. I always did say I love Gibble's design. Just in general. It's tiny little land shark. And it's great. My favorite of the base form pseudos. I will put you here, Gibble, purely because I pretty much do go with the line is important, right? And I don't think Gibble in a vacuum is cooler than Salamence, Tyranitar, or Metagross. It's great, don't get me wrong, but I don't think in a vacuum he's quite as good. I will go Gabite as well is also in S tier, but behind Gibble. I do like Gabite. I love running Gabite, actually. Gabite's got some pretty decent stats. So you can really dish out a lot of pain with him. Like, she does a lot of work in her own stat. Because she's actually got an okay stat line. Nothing crazy, but respectable, like, mid-game Mon stat line. So I have regularly used this Mon in playthroughs. I have regularly used this Mon in anything that basically is we're not just using the full evolve forms. Gabite's usually on the team because, again, in the same setup that other pseudos are under, pseudo-legendary Pokemon take a while to get to their final stage. Thus meaning you're using the middle stage usually, because they usually evolve in about the 20s. Not in certain cases. Looking at you, freaking Zweilous and Dracloak. They usually evolve into their secondary form like 20s, 30s, something like that. I actually don't remember where Octobax is. I think Octobax is in 30. $35. Yeah, 35. So it's like, which I think is perfectly fine. Like, they're a little bit under par for what you've got, because at that point you're basically getting your final Evo starters at around 30s. But kind of is okay. Like, they are respectable. They're not your strongest Pokemon when they evolve into the middle stage, but they do work, and they can dish out the pain in the right kind of ways, right? They're a little bit weaker than your starters, but starters are really good in their own right. So, and you wait a few levels, depending on how many levels. And they will eventually evolve into the absolute powerhouse and probably be the ace of your team. Or will definitely at least get you through a good chunk of the opposition. Now then. Did anyone have any doubts about where Gooba was going to be on this list? Let's just put her in a deserved spot. My favorite Pokemon. Let's just get that right out of the way right then and there. So Garchomp, my beloved Garchomp. I love this Pokemon. My favorite mon to use competitively is Garchomp. My favorite mon, joint favorite mon in general, along with my original starter Charizard and my favorite legendary Rayquaza, is Garchomp. Right? I am very well known for those three Pokemon. Garchomp is probably the one I'm known best for. In my friend group, pretty much certainly. Apart from they do joke about... One of my groups of friends jokes about me because I love Charizard as my favorite starter, which is fair. We all like to poke fun. Like, I call someone a loser because their favorite is Venusaur. And they call me a basic bitch because I like Charizard. Which is fair, honestly. I do like Charizard, what can I say? And one of my other friend groups, in addition to obviously associate me with a lot with Garchomp and Tinkaton, they're associated with Oddish because I do love Oddish. Just randomly, I like Oddish. Oddish, not one of my favorites, but I do really, really, really like Oddish. But if I gave it S tier in the grass type tier list, we did that. And the poison type tier list. But yeah, Garchomp is my ace Pokemon. I have said it for years. It is my ace. Cynthia is my favorite trainer in Pokemon for obvious reasons. For many obvious reasons, honestly. And her ace is obviously Cynthia's Garchomp. Famous Pokemon, right? There's actually art that a friend got for me. In fact, one moment. I will close that just so I could get it. Is it this one? Not that. Apologies, we're going on black screen for a minute, but I'm not going to show my folders, basically. Mostly because there's a lot of just character art and stuff, and, like, secret project things that are for the future. Honestly, currently I'm looking through a lot of the Alvina, like, prototype work. The hell is that? It might just be in here somewhere. I need to clean up my computer a bit. Actually, I don't. Never mind, because I'm getting a new one, aren't I? So, I'm building the new one, like, tonight. So, haha, I can get away with it. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I use just for, like, non-streamed D&D games. In my files, honestly. Oh, and, like, personal information, which I definitely can't share. Okay, I can't find it at the moment, but people have seen it before. Just look it up. Look at one of my previous streams. But yeah, a friend of mine commissioned me from an artist. Can't remember the artist's name, which is really unfortunate. They commissioned me and a couple of the other of the friend group. Us as a Pokemon trainer. I basically, when asked, what do you want for yours? Because it was like the Pokemon trainer and a Pokemon. For my one, I basically asked, can you give me like... described me, basically, and then, so, like, the cowboy hat, and then basically went, kind of imagine male Cynthia, like, clothing, basically, like, male version of Cynthia's clothing, so I had a big, long trench coat, I had my cowboy hat, I had my beard, obviously, red t-shirt, I think I had on me as well, and a like belt, black trousers, the whole works, right? And next to me was my gigantic Garchomp. It was Goober max size. I think they used the basis of an alpha Garchomp as the size, because I believe they said, yeah, Bane likes giant monsters, and yeah, a huge Garchomp pretty much fits perfectly. It's a really good picture. I wish I could find it. It will be saved and transferred to my new PC, don't worry. Actually, I believe it's saved in the Discord. Actually, wait a minute, it will be saved in the Discord, won't it? I just realized there's an easy way to find this. I'll just search back on my messages to my buddy. I think it was before the Poker Rogue ones where we were sending pictures of the shinies we're getting. Had definitely an Overlord conversation. Before that, apologies that there's been a lot of delayed about Garchomp's thing, but I fucking love that mon so much. It's my Pokemon. What can I say? Like, in my friend group, it is the undisputed Bane Pokemon, really. Which I'm obviously very happy to have Garchomp be associated with me in my friend group, because I absolutely love it. Oh yeah, another Pokemon that is associated with me is because of my annoying RNG is a freaking shiny Fluttermane. Which again, I'm not unhappy about, because I do love Fluttermane. But because I caught a shiny Fluttermane that a few of my friends had been looking for a shiny Fluttermane for so long. They were like actively took hours to shiny hunt it. I found it by accident. Wasn't looking for one in any way. These pictures got sent very far back. A few of the pictures have apparently bugged a little bit. It might have been lost in old disc. Oh no, there it is. I found it. God, it was a while ago. It is this picture. Wish I could take. Wait, see, does it say the name of the artist? No. Can't find it. They didn't was in the messages. And the link broke, unfortunate. So yeah, that is the art that got a friend of mine commissioned for me. Basically, this is me with Goober. This is a big girl, ain't she? She's so happy. But yeah, so it's very much associated with me in my friend group to have a Garchomp, basically. And it's my ace Pokemon, so I can't say I'm unhappy about this fact. I absolutely love it. Really good Pokemon. You can run her a shitload of ways, right? Garchomp is an insanely good stat line. She is very tanky. She's just faster than... Honestly, is she the second fastest thing on this list? Yeah. Garchomp is the second fastest Pseudo-legendary, next to Dragapult, which his entire shtick is speed. So, that kind of tells you. She hits very hard with the exact stats that I say, basically, this is the good attack stat. Garchomp is like the benchmark of what I consider a good attack stat, with a 130 attack. Any higher than that is gravy on top as far as I'm concerned. But for a really good, this is a dedicated physical attacker, 130 attack. That's not saying that less than that is particularly bad. If it's above 120, if it's 120 or above, it's excellent. But if you want really good, like the premier physical attackers, I consider that 130. Which is things like Garchomp is 130, Mamoswine is 130, Salamence, Tyranitar, and Metagross are a little bit above it, I think. Metagross and Salamence are 135, Tyranitar is 134, even Dragonite is 134. Like, it's just, this is where you want your attack to be for a dedicated offense mon. And that is a very, very good stat. Ground Dragon, Dragon Ground type, obviously amazing typing. Dies super hard to ice, but let's face it, you're always going to have to accept that. You're using a dragon in general, it's probably going to die to ice. And personally, I'd rather have the ice weakness than the fairy weak, than the massive fairy weakness. Quad weak to fairy is, in my opinion, worse than quad weak to ice. People quite often run an ice move, right? To counter things like Garchomp, honestly. You'll usually run an ice move on something. Usually your water type, because you've probably got a water type on your team, right? But if it's not actually from an Icemon itself, Garchomp's tanky enough that it might actually eat anything apart from Blizzard. Like, Blizzard, a hit from Blizzard, yeah, even without stabs, probably gonna down Garchomp. But I have had Goober, without any durability investment, by the way, tank Ice Shards from Baxcalibur. I have had her tank Ice Beams from, like, non-stab Pokemon, right? And quite often those water types, by the way, that I say are running Ice Beam, a lot of the time, they're not special attack invested, right? So quite often, you can just eat the hit. Because it'll do most of your health, but it won't kill you. Because Garchomp is very tough. She's sturdy. Just baseline sturdy. Got very high defense, very high special defense, very high health. Like, really good health. I think it's 108 health. I'll tell you Garchomp's durability. Because, you know, I don't know it off by heart, but I know it's good. Garchomp's durability. Honestly, tank Garchomp is a build, right? Okay, Garchomp, 108 health. Very good. 130 attack, as I was saying. 95 base defense, which is very respectable. 80 special attack, doesn't really matter, but it means if you want to chuck a special move on there, like, I think she learns Fire Blast, definitely. She might learn Flamethrower and Heat Wave as well. Not the worst. She doesn't get good physical fire moves, because the best one she gets is Fire Fang, which is actually run sometimes. Fire, Dragon, Ground as a trio, a combo, is everything in the game dies to this. And 85 special defense and 102 speed. Which 102 speed used to be absolutely premium speed. Nowadays, it's a little slower, but it's above average. It's just not fast anymore, it's just above average. And let me tell you, above average is very good with Garchomp's attack stat to this day. Like, being nowadays average speed is 100. So anything lower than 100 is considered a little bit slower. Anything above 100 is considered a little bit faster. Garchomp is a little bit faster, but it's nothing crazy. So you'll quite often run a Jolly. And Jolly Garchomp does work. The classic setup I go for is max attack, max speed, Jolly with a little bit of special defense investment just in there because you've got force points. Dragon Claw, Earthquake, Sword Stance, and I go for Iron Head to counteract those nasty, nasty fairy types as well as the ice types. Because Iron Head is a better move than Fire Fang. Not having Fire Fang does mean that you are vulnerable to one combo in the game. Steel Flying. If Garchomp got Flare Blitz, I would run Terra Fire Garchomp every day of the week with Flare Blitz. Because it also gets rid of Burn. But Steel is how I Terra her normally, because resists the dragon, resists the fairy, it resists the ice. Just kind of okay. Sometimes people will predict it. It has been known to happen, but... and you might die on the second attack, because... yeah. But Terra Steel also can be used for good offense because, again, you're running Ironhead. But ideally, I'd like to run it Terrafire. I would love to run Garchomp Terrafire, but unfortunately, she just doesn't get a good fire move. Like, I'd take Flame Charge. Hell. Just, I don't like running Fire Fang. It's inaccurate. It doesn't hit that hard. The flinch is nice, but I'd rather run Ironhead. So yeah, there is that. Also, it makes you just crack through fairy types quite nicely, which honestly is not a bad shout, right? Because a Terra Steel Garchomp with Ironhead will kill most fairy types in the game just outright with that if it's max attack. So, yeah. I do like running Goober. My beloved dragon. Anyway, now to the Beetles. I do love Dino. I'm sad I'm gonna have to run Dino, hilariously. So Dino is the starter I random rolled for my Monotype run in Johto. Oh yeah, also, and let me tell you, I random rolled Gibble in my original starter Monotype run. I rolled Ground, random rolled the starter of a lot of options, and Goober just showed up, basically. So I was very, very happy about that. In Johto, I got Dino. Dino is significantly worse in these runs than Gibble, because Gibble will eventually evolve into Garchomp before all the level caps are out. Like, late, obviously, but also let me tell you, Garchomp is the most broken one you could possibly run in Kanto. Just saying here, guys, Garchomp is ungodly powerful if you get one for Kanto. Genuinely. For a Kanto playthrough, it's nuts. There is no answer in the game to a Garchomp. There is nothing that deals well with Garchomp in Kanto. The only thing that has a chance is Lapras. That's it. That's the only Pokemon I could find that has even the vaguest chance. Because Garchomp outspeeds pretty much everything else that could hurt it. And one-shots pretty much everything that's not Lapras that could hurt it. So, yeah. But yeah, Dino is good. I like the design. And it's not terrible. It's not good, though. The main problem with having Dino in the Monotype playthrough runs is Pokemon has level caps. And I don't get access to Zweilous until after the Ho-Ho boss fight, which is just before Victory Road. And I don't get access to Hydreigon at all. Because Hydreigon is a level 64 evolution, which is higher than the champion level cap in Pokemon MMO in every region. Which is very sad. Significantly above the champion level cap in every region. So that is one of the reasons why I'm kind of sad about Dark-type, because I could have gotten, for instance, Pokemon MMO, with how our Monotype rules work, I had two options for Dark-types in Pokemon MMO, because there are three stages that keep the type all the way through. They're to Dark types. Both of them Gen 5. One of them is Dino, which turns into Hydreigon. The other one is Sandile, which turns into Crocodile. I would have preferred Crocodile in that particular run. Crocodile has some late level caps as well, don't get me wrong, but I could have actually had a Crocodile for the entire, for like a good chunk of the game. But, hey, I'm going to make it work. And it's not the worst. There's definitely worse. There's not really worse I could get as a starter for Dark-type, but at least it's going to be a fun challenge. I'll put it that way. So, I'm not particularly upset, really. It's going to be fun. But anyway, I do like Dino. I think Dino is a good design. Nothing crazy. I won't put it into the A tier. But I'd say Dino is a solid B. Probably higher, definitely higher than Pupitar. I love the little design. I love that it looks like the Beatles, genuinely. Zweilous, I don't really have much to say about Zweilous. I've tried to use Zweilous a lot in competitive, in like low ranks, trying to make it work. Because it's got Hustle. Like, I do like Hustle if you can run it the right kind of way. Which is with Wide Lens I was trying to run it, but it's just not great. Also, being a physical attacker, whereas Hydreigon is a special attacker, is a weird choice. But, hey, I don't mind it either. I would definitely put it below the other three, though, as Wireless. It's not bad. It's not quite as cute and little, like, silly cute Dino is, but it's not quite as good for like vibes as the others, but it's definitely not a C tier. It's good. I do like it a lot. It just doesn't quite hit the tier that the others do, but it's above C. It's covered. I like it so much more than Dragonite. However, here's Hydreigon, which I adore. Hydreigon. Reference. Hydreigon was actually, I think, first picked in the draft league, or second picked. It was picked by a friend of mine before. Actually, yeah, it was first picked, I'm pretty sure, by a friend of mine, so I wouldn't pick it. I wasn't going to first pick it anyway, but it was on my contention list to pick up Hydreigon, because they were going, I've got to pick it up now because I really want it for my team, but Bane's going to grab it. Which is fair, because I might have. I was going for my first two in the draft league were going to be Garchomp and Tyranitar. After that, I was going to see what I had options. But I was fairly sure nobody would pick Garchomp or Tyranitar first. Annoyingly, they did end up picking a lot of the ones I wanted, but I did very well with what I had anyway, so I'm not upset. Hell, I end up coming third in that tournament in total, so I can be proud of that. I came tied second, but I had the same record as person second, but the person who was tied with me was my opponent in the first round, who knew what they were doing, and I didn't know what I was doing in the first round. I learnt after the first round a lot about Pokemon. And basically went on a massive winning streak where I only dropped like 1 or 2 games in total for the rest of the league. But the first game I got pretty much stomped. But yeah. Hydreigon was never a problem for me in that league. I believe it was a real key part of their team. For me, it wasn't really a problem. I hit it very hard with Dusk Form, Lycanroc, Play Rough with Life Orb. I hit it hard enough to kill it 4 times over. Because I was worried, because Hydreigon's very good, obviously. But it's a very, very strong one. I love using Hydreigon. I like choicing it. Choice Specs or Choice Scarf is always a very fun run for Hydreigon. You can obviously run it the crit build. It literally is the reason for Fairy type existing, is Hydreigon. It was such a competitive, dominatingly competitive force. Early on in Pokemon's history. Not quite as fast, like slightly slower than the fast Psudos, but made up for it by Stab, Draco, Meteor, and being a special attacker was terrifying, to be honest. I do love it a lot. It's up there for my favourite Dark type, along with Tyranitar, actually. So I will put Hydreigon, it's above Metagross. It is an easy S tier, and it's above Metagross. It's in my top 10. Hydreigon is in my top 10. And I absolutely love them on. I'm trying to think, is Hydreigon the only dedicated special attacker in my top 10? It might be. I like my physical attackers, alright? But I do very much love Hydreigon. Very much. I think it might be like 7th in my top 10. Probably. Accounting for... Actually, no, Charizard's a special attacker, I suppose, yeah. It's because I run Charizard Physical so a lot of the time. Because in competitive, Charizard Physical is actually kind of better. Doesn't get Nasty Plot, but it gets Sword Stance and Dragon Dance, okay? You can figure it. Okay, Goomy, Sliggoo, Hisuian Sliggoo, Goodra, and Hisuian Goodra. So, let's say, Goomy. Goomy is how you do Goofy correctly, as far as I'm concerned. Look at that little face. Weird little thing. Bizarre. But really silly, but in a very, very endearingly cute way. I like Goomy. I also like that Goomy, I believe in a lot of things is said, is the weakest dragon. It's not the weakest dragon. There's actually 2 weaker than it, I believe. I believe it literally says on its dex entry it's the weakest of all dragon-type Pokemon, yet it's better than Noibat. Or it has a higher stat total than Noibat. at least, which is pretty funny. So yeah, I do like Gumi. I think Gumi is very nice, very cute. I'm putting it in the B tier, right? That's all I got to say. I've never particularly used Gumi because in most of the games you can get a Gumi, you get it around the level it can evolve into a Sliggoo immediately, right? So, I've never particularly used it, but I like how it looks. It's so cute. So, yeah. Now, regular Sliggoo, I will say, regular Sliggoo is amazingly cute as well. It's a very endearingly adorable Pokemon. It's actually not bad. I have used it a lot. In, I believe it was Pokemon X. Because I got real unlucky with Rain, mostly. So I ended up using a Sliggoo for a fair while. I do like its design. It works. You can see it becoming a dragon, right? And that's the main bit. Because it's obviously based on a snail, like, out of its shell, like a slug kind of mon. But it actually, you can see, like, Gumi itself is like, it's a slug, right? It's got the draconic bits you can see it's going to, but it isn't there yet. Sliggoo is turning into the dragon. Like, it's getting there towards its actual full dragon form, which I do like. There's Hisuian Sliggoo, which I do like. It's way better competitively than Sliggoo, but I don't like its design as much. As good as the metal shell works, obviously it's amazing mon. Like an absolutely outstanding Pokemon idea to just give it a steel shell. Makes sense, right? It just works. And Dragon Steel is obviously one of the best types in Pokemon. Really, really good. But I like the regular design more. I wish it wasn't on its side. That's the kind of bit. Honestly, if they'd have just made regular Sliggoo and then, like, armored up its back a little more, kind of like what they did with Hisuian Goodra, I probably would have liked it a little bit more. Now then, I will say, both of these two, I love. I love Goodra, and I love Hisuian Goodra. I like them equally, in fact. But I will 100% say, while I like them equally, one of them, I like the design more than the other. The other, I like using competitively more than the other. So I will say, they are both getting A tier. Above that, they are the top ones in A tier. We're getting to the point where the Psudos are slightly falling into their only A tier. Now, I will say, if this wasn't a Psudos only tier list, these would be S tier. I believe Goodra and Hisuian Goodra were S tier on my Dragon type tier list. But when compared to the other Pseudo-legendaries, that's what we're going to do. They are A tier for Pseudo-legendaries, but they're still absolutely amazing. I also will say I love using Goodra in Pokemon Unite. Goodra is a really fun mod in Pokemon Unite, regular Goodra, which I'm happy about because Goodra competitively is technically the worst Pseudo, I believe. I believe that technically Hisuian Goodra is the worst regular Goodra is the worst competitively Pseudo. But that's not saying it's bad. It's just not as good as it's the lowest ranked ever Pseudo. It's not got anything. It's really good special defensively. Mono Dragon's not amazing. You want Dragon with a secondary typing, but Mono Dragon's not terrible. It's a very good standalone type. It just doesn't really hit very hard, and that's its main issue. It's got a fairly offensive moveset, but it just doesn't have the offense to really make up for it. It's built tanky. It's got some good durability and support moves you can give it, but it's only got okay attack and special attack, so you can run it a lot of interesting ways, though, and you can definitely make it work, and it's very fun to use, I will say. I really like using Goodra. Just generally, it's very, very enjoyable. I've actually got some fun ideas of how to run Goodra very supporty at some point. I might run like a regular Goodra, max health, max physical defense, assault vest set with just supporty moves. I think that could be kind of fun. But yeah, Hisuian Goodra, however, is very good. It is a solid UU mon. I believe it was when I was playing. Steel Dragon's obviously great. You can give this thing leftovers, it's got massive defense. That's the main thing. It is an absolute tank. As it should be. Like, the whole point of these monsters, they're both built to be durable. Legendary special defense on the pair of them as well. 150 special defense. There's very few mons that have higher than that. Hell, there's very few ones that compare with that. Even in legendaries, there's not that many. I think the only ones I can think of off the top of my head that beat it are Lugia, which Lugia might have the same, actually. Ho-Oh and Florges are the only ones I can think of that beat Gudra for special defense. Yeah, so it's not bad. And I do love both of them. They're very fun to use. And quite often you run them with the Salt Vest, so they're even tankier. Okay. Komodo, Jangmo-o, and Hakamo'o. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember which one's which's name. I'm pretty sure the final one is Komodo, but these ones are weird. So, I do like them. Also, terrible shinies on these things, let me say. I do not like the shinies. They're a very distinct shiny that is very different from the base. I will say that. I just don't like the pink and gold. It's very garish to me. I do like the regular forms colour scheme, though. I think they're a bit weird looking, I will say. They're not my favourite pseudo design, but I don't mind them. They're kind of raptory, which I kind of like. They're kind of vibes with. They're like very simple. They're armor plated as well. I do like these mons a lot. As I say, they are pseudo-legendaries. I find the baby form to be very cute. It's got the lizard vibe. It's got the little heart crest on its head. It's very, very adorable. So I'd say it probably is a high B tier. Might be above Dino. Yeah, actually, you know what? I'll be a little generous because I do really like it. I do think it's very, very cute. It looks like the type of animal I'd have in, like, pets on my desk. Like, that kind of thing. It kind of reminds me of a draconic cat. The baby form. So I do really like it. It's very, very cute. And I genuinely just love these bonds in general. They're all fun. Dragon fighting's not the best typing in the world. It's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I said this the other week when I was talking about Koraidon. Dragon fighting is kind of just worse dragon fire in how it ends up working. It's not bad. And technically you've got some better options to smash into, because obviously you're good against rock as well. Obviously both are good against steel. And fighting is a very offensive type. Dragon is good in offense and defense. It's just a very, very good all-round type. Unfortunately, they're both weak to fairy, which is where it really falls off from Dragon Fire, because Dragon Fire actually is neutral of fairy because fire resists fairy. So, yeah. Big important bit. But Dragon Fire is a very rare type combo because it's a really, really good type combo. So yeah, I do like it. The middle form, which I think is Hakamo'o, is okay. I don't love it, but I don't dislike it. It's above a C again. It's a comfortable B tier, I think, but a low B tier. It's a little bit worse than Zweilous. But yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's got the kind of raptory, like, it weirdly reminds me of Rayman. Anyone else see that, or am I insane? Then I thought. But yeah, I do kind of like it. It's the classic middle stage, like, Gorky evolution, but it's alright. It is alright. And, yeah, I do like that it turns it into, like, a coin on its head as well. And the armored gauntlets. That's the big part about it that I love, is the gauntlets that it gets. The gauntlets are really cool. And what is getting it into B tier out of C tier is the kind of, like, arm guards that it gets in its middle stage. Just, I think, just look really good. So, yeah. And there is Komodo himself, the big final Evo. Which, again, I really like it. Though I will say, I like it less than Gudra. It's really good. I do love using this thing competitively as well. It's obviously got an amazing Z move if you run it with that kind of one. But I first ran it in the Scarlet and Violet DLC. It was added in the Ogerpon DLC and was actually on my team in that DLC. Because I basically was using a few Pokemon that I already had, that I hadn't used for my main playthrough, and then was catching a few that were in the DLC. So I believe the ones that I carried over, I believe I had 3 that carried over, which were Elphaba, my Fluttermane, my shiny Fluttermane from the actual playthrough. I had my Corviknight, I think the original Gwen, because I'd never used Corviknight before that. It was really good. I found out how fucking broken that mon is. And my Hydreigon, which I'd never used a Hydreigon before. Because obviously I did the Gen 5 and things playthroughs of Pokemon after. That. I think I did them... Yeah, I think I did my full runs early on in the year, like January, February time. God, has it really actually only been a year? Fucking hell. Actually, no, it might have been before that. Yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Oh, no, actually, no, I remember. I did use it because I didn't get a chance to use Hydreigon in the run because when I get through Unova, obviously level caps in Pokemon meant you can't get a Hydreigon until post-game. So, yeah. That must have been it. So I wanted to actually use Hydreigon for at least somewhat of a playthrough. And Hydreigon's great, let me tell you. But yeah, it's a really good Mon, and I used Kamoo, was one of the ones I caught because it gets it. I also believe I used Vikavolt, and I think I used a Ninetales. Maybe a Alolan Ninetales. I don't really remember the other Mon I used in the Ogerpon DLC. I know I used Vikavolt, because I remember basically going, it's never outspeeding anything anyway, so I might as well make it tanky, and it worked way better. I know I changed one of the Mons into Vika, like, I was going to use one Mon, decided against it, it was something, like, I didn't end up liking how it worked and things, so I changed it out for Vikavolt. And I generally don't remember what the last Mon was on my team. That's pretty funny. Oh, you know what? I'm going to look it up. Teal Mask DLC Pokemon. Yeah, obviously it wasn't one of the legendaries. Wasn't that. Oh, it was Milotic was the last Mon, yeah, because Milotic was coming out in it. Yeah, that was my last one. Yeah. It was fun. I did like the DLCs. I like both of them. Anyway, now for an interesting one. So, the baby cannons, as I've fondly nicknamed them with a bunch of... Well, a friend of mine technically nicknamed them, but yeah. Of Dreepy, the ammunition, Dracloak, the middle stage, and Dragapult, the bad parent. Dreepy is very cute. Let's just get this right over with. But I don't think it's as cute as a few others. It does give me kind of Mushu vibes. Or Mushu, or what's his name? The dragon from Shaolin Showdown, if anyone remembers that. What was his name? Not the blue dragon, the original. The dragon... It'll be on here. Dojo! Yeah, it was Dojo. It gave me the freaking voice actor before the name of the dragon. Yeah, it always kind of gave me Dojo vibes as well. It's like I think it's the staring eyes, but I do like it. It's very cute. It's very silly. Good shiny as well. Not the best shiny of the pseudos. Definitely better Gross beats it, but it is still a really really cute little mon. I'll put it just behind there. Dracloak. Dracloak's okay. I do like it's a clear evolution mid stage, right? And I do like it. I probably like it more than Hakamo'o, but less than Zwilus, I'd say. But I still really like it. It's a sick design. I also love that it's actually got the same speed as Garchomp. That shows how fucking fast Dragapult is, where the middle stage is above average speed for all Pokemon. Dracloak actually has 102 speed like Garchomp. A big problem with it, obviously, evolves super fucking late. It is level 50, 55. It evolves later than Garchomp to get Dracloak. I'll look up Dracloak. Is it level 55? Something like that. Dracloak. Yeah, level 50. It evolves at the same level. It evolves into its second stage at the same level that Salamence does. For some reason, Zwilus and Dracloak are stupid high-level evolutions. For no reason. Like, evolving to their third stage super late, yeah, that makes sense. But evolving to their second stage, they really shouldn't. I'm happy they went back with Baxcalibur to evolving into your second stage at a normal level. Even if it's still 35, still fairly high, but it's much more redeemable. As for Dragapult itself, I have used Dragapult a few times, not as much as I have for a lot of pseudos, though I am excited I will at some point be buying Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I will have a Dragapult on my team then. I'm reasonably going to keep to level cap, so it won't be for late game that I'll get one, but I'll get one for a couple of fights at least, and yeah. Dragapult is a really, really fun mon to use. I love that you can run it specially and physically. Its main shtick, it's a really, really versatile Pokemon, right? You can run it physically, it's got 120 attack, which is what I basically say is a very good attack stat still. Not in the exceptional tier with Garchomp and all those others, but it's still really, really good. And it's got insane speed. And it's also got very good special attack. That's another thing. You can run this physically or special, and it works really well in both. Which is a big plus for it. It's slightly better on the physical side, but it gets better Ghost Stab on the special side. So, fair. And obviously, it is absurdly fast. It is one of the fastest Pokemon in existence. Sitting at around 140... I want to say 143 speed. It's something like that. I want to see if I nailed it. One moment, I've got this dex entry up. Oh, it's 142. I was so close. I bet 143. It's got 142. My bad. But yeah, Dragapult is great. I do love its design a lot. I'm going to put it around here. I like these two about equal, I'd say. They're both absolutely amazing Pokemon. Both really, really fun to use. They're great. They really are. Now then. Frigibax, Octobax, Baxcalibur, the Gigan Pokemon. Gigan from the original Godzilla Kaiju mangas, if anybody knows it, and from the Godzilla fighting games and all that shtick. Slightly lesser known than Ghidorah, but still one of the absolute classics. This, like, cyborg, blade-armed, multi-finned mod. You'll see why its Baxcalibur is Gigan if you look up Gigan. Genuinely, it's one of those bits. It's got kind of like the mechanical looking head like Baxcalibur's. The big sail on its back is in there. It's got the same pose. Different arms, obviously, but it's the blade Pokemon, and Gigan's the blade kaiju, pretty much. So, yeah. Frigibax is fine. Probably my least favorite baby pseudo, I will say. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's got a vibe to it, which is kind of alright. Actually, you know what? do I put you here? Yes, I do. The baby one, I still say it's average. It is average. I don't hate it like a lot of people do. But I like it more than Dragonite, I'll put it that way. But that's kind of a show. But I don't particularly like it. It's definitely my least favorite baby Psudo. It just doesn't have the charm of the others. It's also the least identifiable one of them. I don't get the correlation as much. It's got the same kind of problem that Dragonair to Dragonite has, of I don't see how that turns into Octobax. Now, Octobax, I love Octobax. Octobax might be... It's my second... I think it's my third favourite of the middle stages. I like it more than Shelgon. Because Octobax, look at it, that's a tiny Spinosaur. Right? That is a little dinosaur, which I do like a lot. I've said this before. I really like Octobax. Octobax is also quite usable as well. It's got the same kind of thing that Gabite's got. It's got respectable, just general stats. It evolves at a nice level. And you can see how that turns into Baxcalibur. How the fuck Frigibax turned into that, I don't know. There's some weird step in here which I'm not really seeing. But it's one of the few that the middle stage is legit good as well. I know a lot of people that don't like it. I do not understand how people do not like it. The middle stage. I genuinely like Baxcalibur's middle stage. It's one of the better ones. It's only beaten, in terms of middle stage Pseudos, it is only beaten out by Dragonair, which is better than the fully evolved one, and better than a couple of fully evolved Pseudos, in my personal opinion, as well. And by Gabite, which is my favourite of the middle stage Pseudos, because it's literally just smaller Garchomp. And that's the bit. Garchomp's design just kind of works the whole way down. And then we got Baxcalibur themselves, Betty. Oh, is it Betty? It's Brenna. Brenna, my Baxcalibur. Everybody knows I love my Baxcalibur. And absolutely a monstrous mon. It took me a while to figure out how I liked to run Baxcalibur. That is a genuine thing. This mon took me learning in how to use. Which is interesting. It's not as simple as most Pseudos just are. Like, you look at Garchomp. You see exactly what its stats are. It's tough, it's fast, it hits hard, right? You look at its moveset, it's like, oh, you take a dragon move, you take Earthquake, you take maybe something for setup and something for coverage, right? Or just maybe ignore the setup and just take another coverage move, right? Fairly straightforward. Same with Salamence. T-Tot, you make it tankier, you just see it's like big and thick. Got a great versatile moveset, you can run this pretty much anyway, and it always works. Hydreigon, special nukes. Did I say more? Metagross, same as Tyranitar. Big and tough. You can make it hit quite hard. It gets priority. Very nice. Even like Goodras and things, like, they've got very straightforward. This is a tanky mon with some support versatility, right? With Kumo-o and Dragapult, Dragapult's super fast. It just hits hard and fast. That's all it does. You can make it run supporty as well with some good screens and stuff. It's effectively got a choice scarf. Compared to most mons, you basically already scarfed. And with Kumo-o, it's tanky. It's kind of weird, and it also... Kumo-o, I think, has the same kind of thing. It takes you a bit to figure out how this mon's supposed to work. But you look at its moveset, yeah, you see it's got some setup moves that work quite well. Yeah, Kumo-o is a setup monster. You build it very tanky or very fast. You give it a lot of setup stuff, and it just works. Baxcalibur is a much weirder one, because you look at it on paper, and you go, right, so this thing, you run it really bulky, and you give it some just good dragon moves, right? Then you realize how Glaive Rush works. It's like, oh, so I'm gonna take a big hit next to it? That's kind of weird. So you want to run some things like Protect, maybe. Or you could just ignore it and give it the Scale Shot Dragon Dance build, which is very good, obviously. With the loaded dice, it works really well. I personally didn't get on really well with the loaded dice setup set. And I didn't like the just general, like, Icicle Crash set, like the standard offensive bulky mon set. So I run it in its own, the way that you can only really run Baxcalibur. With your slow, psych out run, is that I really call it, is what I could call it. Basically, how I run Baxcalibur, I run it max health, so super tanky. Also, yeah, Baxcalibur's typing isn't comfy on what its durability is. And its ability is weird. Thermal Exchange is you want to get hit by fire moves because they boost your attack. And you're not weak to it, you're not resistant to fire, and you can't be burned. Very good on a mon with 147 physical attack, by the way. That's without looking it up. I'm like 90% sure that's Baxcalibur's. It's 145 or 147. It is the highest physical. It is the highest. 145, yeah. I do use Baxcalibur a lot, so I knew the rough ballpark. It's the highest physical attacking pseudo. And yeah, Bax basically how I run Brenner is a very good set. It is Icicle. It's Ice Shard for priority. Glaive Rush for power. 120 base power dragon move. With no real downside. So with this particular Baxcalibur, you want to actually run kind of slow. Right? Because what you want to do, you ideally want to hit, you can take hits. You can take hits from nearly anything. Baxcalibur is very tough. With its massive health pool. 115 health. It's basically got it's got a slightly better defensive lineup than Garchomp. It's got 115 health, but Garchomp has 108. 92 physical defense, where Garchomp is 90. 86 special defense, where Garchomp is 85. So it's slightly tankier than Garchomp. With no quad weaknesses. Very important. Does have some big weaknesses, being an Ice type. Ice type's got a lot of big weaknesses. Mainly fighting's the big one that adds to it, which you're going to get hit by fighting moves for it. Just accept it. Or steel moves like bullet punches exists, right? You actually run backs quite slow. You run it with Ice Shard, Glaive Rush, Sword Stance for setup, because let me tell you, Baxcalibur with setup is terrifying, and you can psych your opponent's brain out, because if you think they're going to go for Protect, you can Sword Stance. And also, if you switch into a low damage fire move, say a Torkoal Heat Wave that was going to hit your Steel type, which is how I quite often run Baxcalibur, I end up usually being the switch in against anyone throwing a fire type move into Corviknight is quite often how I use it. It's a nice switch in for Corviknight. Get that attack boost, your opponent protects thinking they're going to get a priority move in, or you can just straight up throw in the Glaive Rush. Or get the priority, because, again, Baxcalibur with any amount of attack boost is insane. And she hits ridiculously hard. And the last move being Protect, because sometimes you just need to guarantee I am not taking damage from this Glaive Rush. Because Glaive Rush, basically, the way to do it is you want to hit slow with Glaive Rush, so that you're ideally going last. Baxcalibur's got respectable speed as well. 87's not fast, it's on the slower side, but it's not super slow. So you can outspeed, like, Trick Room mons all the time. And you can outspeed some slower mons. Which you do have to be careful with that, by the way. But you don't run at any speed at all. You don't run it no investment, like you don't run it 0 IVs for Trick Room. Though you can run that if you want to run Trick Room. And I think Baxcalibur would be an interesting Trick Room mon. But I always run it with, ideally, anti-Trick Room. Like, you want to go last with it, ideally. Unless you are going with your priority moves, because you have two different priorities. You have Ice Shard for offense, and you have Protect for defense. Both are very, very good and very, very valid. The one downside, this mon is hard countered by Psychic Terrain Fairy types, which is definitely a thing you'll come up against with this particular build. But what you ideally do is you keep stalling them out, give them Protect, make them aim for the Baxcalibur. It will eat a few hits. Even if it does nothing other than just soak up damage, it's doing its job. And sometimes, if your opponent has run out of turns for their Psychic Terrain, they were about to put it up, you just priority Ice Shard, ideally with a +2 on it. and just spike that mon that they were going to do it with, which is quite nice. Or basically force them into, you have to put up the psychic terrain again, because if not, Baxcalibur's going to rampage. It's a very, very interesting build, and I think it works very well. For Bax, I am putting Bax above Metagross. Bax originally wouldn't have been above Metagross, but using it a lot more and really learning the ins and outs of the Pokemon, yeah, I really love it. Baxcalibur is an amazing one. It's similarly to Hydreigon. Like, it's probably lower than Hydreigon. Maybe still in my top 10. It's close with Bax. But I probably like it about as much as Metagross, thinking about it. So definitely top 25. Probably top 20, honestly. Maybe not in the top 10, though. Now for Duraludon, regular Duraludon is fine, just don't expect to use it in any endgame content, really. It is a baby Pokemon. That's what I will always call it. It is the highest base stat total mon that evolves, I believe. Which is kind of a cool, like, title to have. Because it was originally a final gym leader ace Pokemon, they just realized that without Gigantamax it was garbage. Duraludon's not great. But it's got good design. And it's pretty fun to use in the early game. You get one, you give it an Eviolite. It's very fun. But the main problem it's got no special defense whatsoever. Its regular defenses are okay, and its moveset's mid. So, it doesn't do anything too well, which is why they needed to give it a evolution. And let me fucking tell you, Archaludon is one hell of an evolution. I love Archaludon. I had an immediate amount of, oh, this mod is perfect. I've since gone from, it was recency bias, which put it massively up my tiers, and when I think about it more objectively, I still absolutely adore this Pokemon. Stamina is one of my favorite abilities in Pokemon. It's not quite as high up as I was going to rank it, basically. Stamina is one of my favorite abilities in Pokemon. I love it. I love Mudsdale that runs it, and I love this thing that runs it. I love using Electroshock with this mon as well. You can do really weird tactical things with it. I like running Electroshock just outright. You rarely end up using it. I consider this mon mostly it's obviously designed, you run it on Rain, right? It is an insanely good Rain team mon. For me, though, how I run Archaludon, I run it as an anti-Rain mon. I will still run Electroshock, which is its signature move, which works on Rain teams, right? But it's so durable, and I run it with Assault Vest. You're effectively using it to force switches and to get special attack ups. That's how I use it. Because you're using its stamina to just bulk out with its thing. You've got Assault Vest to massively tank its special defense. This thing is an absolute behemoth. It's not quite as high up as I would have ranked it a while ago, when I first ended up using it when the DLC came out, but it is still an absolutely wonderful mon that I absolutely love using. It is an absolute great one. Not quite as high up as it was, though. It is slightly below Metagross, probably, but above the babies. And yeah, it is a technical pseudo-legendary. That's one of the main reasons I want to include it on the list, because I do really love Archaludon. It deserves to be a pseudo. If they put in a baby Duraludon, I'll be very, very happy, because then it is officially a pseudo-legendary, and I think it deserves it. It's a really cool idea for a mon, and it's a really good mon. I like it a lot, so yeah. Many people will say it's broken. I wouldn't say it's broken. It's very, very good. It's kind of verging on being broken on a Rain team, though. I will say that. But yeah, that is the pseudo-legendary tier list in its entirety. I'm looking forward to seeing more pseudos in the future. They are always... I just love them. They're my favorite category of Pokemon. They have been since Tyranitar, honestly. Like, they are... They're just so good. They are my Pokemon. I will outright state that the pseudos are my Pokemon that I always just like. They're the part I immediately gravitate to. In any Pokemon game, I go, what's the pseudo? What pseudo is it? Which pseudo-legendary is it? What's the thing? What's the new pseudo-legendary? They're always the part that I listen out for, and they're the part I'm always the most excited about in any Pokemon game. It's like, ooh, what else we got? What else we got? What else we got? And obviously Garchomp is my competitive Pokemon of choice, right? And Salamancer's right up there. Salamence and Titar, Garchomp, Salamence, and Titar are 3 of my most used Pokemon, just generally. They all work really well. They work well on the same team together. I drafted all 3 of them in my original Pokemon Draft League team. They all work very well together. They're all really fun to use, and I just love pseudo-legendaries in general. They're all absolutely sick. They are the part that gets, like, my inner 7-year-old just adores these things, and I can't help but love them. Genuinely. So yeah. That's what we got time for today. This is actually the final stream of the year of 2024, as I've said before. It will be going up next Monday. We will still have streams, in theory, for the rest of the week, but not tomorrow. I'm taking New Year's Eve off. Hopefully we'll be streaming on New Year's Day. New Year's Eve, for me, is I am going to be building my PC. I am basically taking the entirety of tomorrow to build it, just so that I have plenty of time, right? And I don't have to really worry about anything. I'm going to be setting up the parts that I need the PC for tonight, and continue to do stuff tonight just on this PC. Then tomorrow will be just, don't do anything apart from build the PC, and then hopefully get it all up and running by the evening. But there will not be a stream tomorrow. If I build the PC and it all works, fingers crossed, knock on wood, then I will be streaming on New Year's Day. What I'll be streaming, I'm not entirely sure yet. I'll see what I fancy and what my new PC wants to run and things. It'll probably be a stress test for the new PC, honestly. Provided it all works. Yeah. But anyway, that is all we got time for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Have a fantastic evening and a fantastic New Year. Happy New Year for everything. I hope don't get too drunk. Get the appropriate and safe level of drunk. Be safe. Have a wonderful time. See your family and all that. Yeah. I don't know how many more of these tier lists we're actually going to do. We'll see how things look for me next year, if there's anything I can figure out on tier list. Otherwise, we'll just be doing general purpose shenanigans. And yeah, hopefully when the new PC is built, we'll have a lot more games that I'm able to play, because main reason I've been doing tier lists and things is because my current PC is on its last legs, and there's only so much it can really run while streaming. So we've got to give a big salute to Lycan, my PC, that has been running me and serving me very faithfully my entire streaming career. Fare thee well, old girl. You will be missed. But hey, looking for the future, right? It's not like I'm throwing away the parts. Like, they are still going to be here. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. You keep playing big games. Keep being awesome. You guys all the best. Enjoy yourselves, guys. Have a lovely time and a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you very much for listening. Good night. Happy New Year, guys. See ya!